Hey folks, Steve here with another unboxing video. Today we'll be looking at Next War Vietnam, which is yet another game in the Next War series designed by Mitchell Land. And basically, this series has covered several hypothetical topics. The reality is that I've not shown any of them on the channel before, really, except that I have them. I've mentioned them a little bit, but I've not played them on camera. And they're pretty complicated games, so there's always been sort of a barrier there. But I think the series is very interesting, and it's covering hypothetical topics. So there's Next War Korea. I think you can imagine what that's about. Next War Taiwan. Next War India and Pakistan. Next War Poland. Well, now we have Next War Vietnam, and this is one that I wasn't sure what to think of it yet, just because anything with these hypotheticals, right? You have to put yourself in the mindset of like, what does this really mean? But one of the interesting things with this is that this game, along with Next War Korea, Next War Taiwan, can all be looked at as sort of like, they've sort of shopped it around as a like World War III theater games, if you want. So what if war breaks out all across Asia, and you've got war in Vietnam and war in Taiwan and war in Korea, all with the different interactions of the US and China and all that. Well, this is another a game focused on a specific area that you could play into that, and we're going to check it out. So here's the back of the box. You can see it is not like the zoomed out view of Vietnam or something. We're not talking like from Hanoi to Saigon. This is very, very, very specifically focused around Hanoi and sort of the geographic regions around it, and is sort of in the sort of assumption that like China invades from the north kind of thing, and that Vietnam has to hold out for other powers to come and help save it. You can see the counters here as examples, so you're talking various types of units: mechanized, infantry, air power is involved. They have sea units that represent aircraft carrier groups. You've got fighter planes of varying, not fighter planes, God. I mean, you have air power of varying types, and all sorts of craziness there, right? And I'll say that the basic rules aren't so bad. The advanced rules that come with each game are a lot more complicated. So this is not like your beginner's war game by any means. We're going to get a standard size map. We're going to get a standard size strategic display, which these games typically have. 4 counter sheets, our standard and advanced rules booklet, our game-specific rules booklet. So the way it works is there's usually the latest version of the Next War rules, which the latest game will always have, and then there are rules that are specific to this game. For instance, Next War Vietnam, that will cover special rules for it. 9 player aid and charts, so a lot to look at there, and 2 10-sided dice. This does have a time count on it, which is 4+ hours for sure. I would suspect greater than 4 hours. And there's that game complexity. Standard game is medium, advanced is high, solitaire is relatively high. This is hex encounter, not a whole lot of hidden information. But yeah, the standard rules are like hex encounter, moving guys, fighting. Advanced rules are moving guys, fighting, air power, all sorts of craziness, helicopters. I mean, it just, there's a lot. Special forces missions. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's packed in here. And you can read the blurb here, what they're talking about, the hypothetical situation, 5th game in the series, and so on and so forth. And that this, no other game in the series is required to play. You can just play this by itself. But if you want to do some crazy combined stuff, you can look at that as well. We'll rip off the shrink and get right into what's the content of the game. And we'll lift the lid. This is a standard GMT box in size and quality. It's not flimsy by any means. It's a good solid box. Here's your game-specific rules, which come in at 32 pages. And there's that tag, combined with these other games for a much bigger game. If you want to do that, they give you guidance on how to do it. Non-glossy paper, 2-column format, full color. including pictures to sort of help set the tone of what you're dealing with, and lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. I can't even really begin to describe all the things that would be in this game, but you have to keep in mind you're dealing with a hypothetical situation with modern hardware. You hope that ideally, none of these hypotheticals become reality and people are fighting and dying. But it is an interesting exercise in examining modern warfare and the assumptions that we make about modern warfare and how fast it will be and how quickly it will end and what are the sides really trying to achieve. So you got that. Whoops. You've got your standard and advanced series rules. So this, you could technically take this rule book, even if it says Next War Vietnam, and I could go play it with my Next War Poland game because this is going to have all the latest updates for all the rules. That clocks in at 48 pages. That's a lot. But if you're just playing the standard game and not doing advanced, you're talking 22. So this is like, if you're playing standard, this is going to be your kind of, baseline hex and counter game. You're looking at combat factors and terrain and all that. The advanced series really gets a lot crazier, a lot more involved. And some people really like that, and they only play this. They say, if you're going to play this, you're playing it for the advanced rules. But I won't go super deep into that. The PDF of the rulebook is available online, so if you want to take a look at all this stuff, you can do it. They have tons of nationalities that are in the games across the whole series now, all with different color counters and prints, so you can differentiate them. And they've got a chart on the back to help you look at stuff. Good stuff. Here is the map. Now, it is not mounted. It is a paper map. And the map looks just like it did on the back of the box. I don't have much reason to show it. The C zone is really just a C zone, the Gulf of Tonkin, and there are going to be units sort of in that and operating. You can see the terrain varies. There are rivers, there are roads, there are towns, there are airfields, there are more open terrain, there are urbanized hexes. They're like cities, big cities, and then there are smaller cities that don't take up the full hex. And you can imagine there's all sorts of rules around how those things operate. Here's the strategic map, and so this is where you get into the, how do you want to use this with your other games in the series? Because Taiwan is here, Philippines are over here, Vietnam itself is over here, and trying to see if they managed to fit Korea on here anyway. It doesn't look like they quite got it on the map. There's a box for it right there. So I'm wondering if you were to do a big Asian World War III thing, would you use this map and this map only? I can't remember if Taiwan has a operational map. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But basically, this is how if you're zoomed out away from the main front of the game, you can, forces are moving. Allies are operating out of the Philippines or Japan, and China's invading Taiwan. How do they show that they're going there? And you could, and they've got markers on here saying okay, if you go to this landing spot, that is this hex on the Taiwan map. So, yeah, you really could, put all these games together like a Transformer or a Megazord or something, and have a big activity on your hands. And I know there's some guys that do that. I know a guy who's done that. So that's pretty cool. Then we'll get into the counters over here. And there are the 4 sheets, and just important to point out, GMT, Brown Core, high quality counters, which is great. I think some of my games, I've got older editions of Next War, they have the flimsier counter qualities, which is fine, it's doable, but having these Brown Core, it's just so much better. They punch easier, you don't have to clip the counters as much, or you don't have to do as much work on the counters, and you can see there's a lot here. I can't even begin to explain all of this. There's just too much information here. But you have a variety of units for Vietnam and China, the Allies, even other powers, countries. You have various markers for denoting things like control or clearing urban hexes or hitting units with ground strikes and what are the repercussions of that. Just a lot there. to absorb. And to further exacerbate that idea, you have a crap ton of player aid charts. I don't think I can go through them all. Standard game air defense fire. Standard game air points. If you're playing the advanced game, you're probably only using some of these. Here's how you do clearing operations, paradrops, sea control, replace and reconstitution of units, contested sea movement, loss of air bases, mine clearing. See how complicated the game can be? What does an airstrike really do? There's all sorts of things that it does, depending on the level of strike capability you get, right? All kinds of stuff here. Line of communication diagram. How do you get a line of communication? Well, they have to trace a certain way. The master allied reinforcement chart. Standard sequence of play, advanced sequence of play. On the back, various other charts supporting. Terrain effects chart. Fairly complicated. Showing different types of movement. There's leg, there's light infantry leg, there's motorized, and there's mechanized movement. There are differences between motorized and mechanized. And all sorts of things you can see here. All quite nuanced. There's a lot of nuance here to appreciate. Game information display, nothing too crazy there. Special operations forces chart. So there are special operations forces or special forces that can conduct operations behind enemy lines or doing different things. You can conduct raids. You can do recon. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. This is an advanced game thing. You've got advanced air defense, advanced strike charts that differ from the base game, advanced detection, collateral damage. I mean, there's just some electronic detection. You got electronic warfare in the advanced game. I mean, it truly is a lot. Very comprehensive. I can't even begin to get into it here, guys. I really can't. And then here's your 2 dice. And that's it. You got an insert. I'm not sure how well everything will fit back into the box yet, but I suspect with as many counters and the fact that they're the nice thick counters, there may be some finagling you'll have to do, or tucking baggies of counters underneath the flaps of the insert. That's what I end up doing. I think other folks do as well. But yeah, another nuanced and beefy entry in the Next War series. Certainly worth a look if you're interested in hypotheticals and modern combat and what we think a lot of these hot conflicts will be like. I don't think a Next War game has gone hot yet, but that's always the possibility. And maybe someday I'll get some of these games on camera and some coverage. Maybe someday I'll try, that Third World War thing, since I've got all the games for it. I'd have to double check that I've got the latest force pools and order of battle for every faction. That's one thing I have to say with the Next War series. You have to be careful of. Sometimes there are units that are included in new versions of the game or new games in the series that replace older counters, and I feel like I haven't been able to keep up to date on what counters have replaced what, and whether or not I have the latest and the greatest of anything or everything. For instance, there's a U.S. order of battle in the new version of Korea that makes the Taiwan game's force pool or order of battle obsolete, which made the original edition of Next War Korea's order of battle obsolete. So there is a bit of an odd hierarchy, but Mitchell Land has a lot of support on the web and a Google Drive folder with a bunch of information to kind of help with that. So I don't know, just word of the wise, there's a lot here to get into. You can definitely dive deep into the series, and there's a lot to enjoy and immerse yourself in there if you're interested. So I think that does it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more, subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you later. I'm going to get to playing some World War I games here soon, so we'll have fun with that. So yeah, have fun, guys. Take care. Keep on gaming.